everyone, History Mystery Man back again today, just about 2 miles east of Salem, Indiana, right off of Highway 56, in search of the old American Legion Speedway, which once lived here, somewhere back in the thick of that forest area behind me, was the old Speedway. It operated from 1923 to 1933, about 10 years before the Great Depression. Eventually did it end. Now, the idea of finding old racetracks is fairly popular right now, especially because Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his new programming, Lost Speedways, is hot after the subject. But the American Legion Speedway, we're talking back in the 1920s, has never been done. Most people don't even know it ever lived. The American Legion post in Salem noticed that the county fairs and the fairs at the Washington County Fairgrounds back in the day were getting big crowds with this brand new thing they called auto racing back in the teens, and they thought, hey, they're onto something here. They purchased several acres back there somewhere and operated a speedway, some of the events drawing as many as 10 to 12,000 people. There was also, someone noted in a newspaper, the largest collection of automobiles ever seen in the county. And we don't know exactly where it is, but we're gonna that forest, we're gonna go trudging through that forest today. No trails, just a couple of my friends, they're gonna help me find this place, and I'm really looking forward to it. Welcome to the old American Legion Speedway, somewhere back yonder.
Yeah, one of my heroes, my best buddy, I count of all my life, was my grandfather. When I was probably at 26, I'd been 8 years old. He took to my first race, ever seen a race car, was at the American Legion track at Canton, Indiana, just east of Salem about. And that was my first time I'd seen a race. Half mile dirt. And it was very dangerous race to me, because all I thought about was airplanes, race cars. I hadn't to think about women yet, but
that was coming.
That came later. But
if I went to that property now, could I see maybe where the track actually was, or is it completely gone?
Well see it. It was a half mile, and back in all the spectators parked on the inside. Nobody was allowed on the outside in the race, and they said they was on the inside of the track. And that was before. See, later on, all your dirt tracks use calcium chloride to keep the dust down. But all they did is use plain water, and it was so dusty. But it was on probably 4 acres or 5 acres of land. But it wasn't enough room outside the track to park the cars outside. So that's the reason they parked them on the inside.
Yeah,
and
that's interesting.
But one story I definitely remember was in national news. The Legion leased the track for like 5 years, August, but to make a little extra money, they leased it to one guy, individual out of Indianapolis, and he had a big crowd, 5,000 or 6,000 people, and had a good bunch of people drive race cars and come down there, and he got about 3/4 run. Had a flagman run, an announcer, and about 3/4 through the track, he took off with all the proceeds, all the money, left. And that killed the race. There was no money to pay, and the drivers had to forfeit. But it was already about over before he took off. When they didn't know he's leaving.
He got away.
Oh yeah, I never knew. Well, I don't think he ever put it in the paper or nothing, or ever caught him or not.
Mm-hmm.
But he took everything, and which wouldn't have been no big deal, like it is, no big amount of money. But back in 6,000 or 8,000, a lot of money in the 30s.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's a lot of money to me now.
Yeah,
are you kidding?
Me too. But that was the biggest thing that happened in Salem.
Oh my gosh. Hey. Hello, good morning. We get to ride on the tailgate. This adventure is getting more fun with each passing moment.
Yes.
Todd, how are you?
Doing
Thanks
fine.
for escorting us out. All right, let's do this.
All right. Hold tight. All right.
Well, hold tight. Now, what is that supposed to mean? How tight do I need? What am I going to hold on to? Jeremy? I don't think so.
I'll just fall out. I will stop.
Oh, that's encouraging. That's all I needed to hear. Have you actually ever been back to the site?
No.
Okay, you know
Well,
where it is, but you've never
I've
been
been-
back there.
I've been across what would have been the backstretch.
Okay,
I've been across the backside of the speedway, but not where the bleachers are.
okay. American Legion Speedway, here we come. Hope there's a good crowd today.
You're talking 8 to 15,000 people that would come out here for 10 years straight.
You can tell by the video that it's a rough road to get there. I hope we don't get seasick. Whoa! Yeah, this is actually beautiful back here.
It is.
Look at this, the path is getting more narrow. Forest on the right, Indiana on the left. Long, tall corn.
I'm positive that we're up above that bank where you've seen all those people sit.
Because I can look at the contour of the land and it goes way, way down. Oh, this is quite a long ride back here. It would have been a pretty long walk. So I gotta wonder how in the heck, I mean, there must have been an access road to the place back in the day. I mean, how in the heck did people get back here?
Well, they would have came in from the front side across the creek, across that little bridge,
Got it.
and then came up the hillside to get their seats.
This is actually for dogs, but hey,
Seen that.
Oh,
Whatever works.
this is what
hit me. We'll all have to do a tick inspection when this is done. Jesus, where are we heading?
watch that one.
Oh, I see the wire. Wow. I'm thinking, so far, I'm thinking poison ivy, ticks. We are where humans don't go. Not in a while.
You didn't do this back in Toledo, Don?
I did not do this back in Toledo. The last racetrack I located and found that's no longer there was New Bremen Speedway in New Bremen, Ohio. But that's the access to that one is a lot. That's just one fence to climb and you're there. We didn't have to trudge through the forest.
Up on this flat area here, in addition to the racetrack, that the racing that went on here, the county fair was held up here at one time.
Really?
I understand. Now
I believe you're right about that. They did
maybe
have
in the
it.
No.
late 1800s.
It had to been a long time ago because I don't see a lot of county fair going on right now around here. I mean, this is thick forest. You actually know where you're at, huh?
Yeah,
Wow.
believe it or not.
I believe it. Well, that's a good thing
On the way
because
through,
I can assure you I do not.
there's an old spring probably off of one of the
Wow.
race cars.
Look at that, Jeremy.
And
He just
there
pulled
was-
up an old leaf spring
there was-
from one of the cars, from one of the race cars. That thing's heavy. Wow. Okay, so there's an old fence back here, an old steel fence. What the heck would this have been here? Is that farming stuff
The
or?
gentleman that owned this property, Mr. Elrod, years ago, ran hogs back here, and the old timers used to take advantage of the native nuts, acorns, hickory nuts, because hogs love things like that. And he just let them pretty much free range. He did have some perimeter fences back here, but that was typical of the time. A lot of farmers ran their hogs in wooded areas to cut down on their feed costs.
So you found something. What? Whoa. Here I go. Whoa. Okay, so
Brake or a transmission or
wow. car parts. Look at this.
Probably off of one of the old race cars.
That's definitely a fender. Wow. That's interesting.
All right, now we'll head toward the area where the old bleachers were. Kind of gives me peace of mind to get out and walk through the woods and clear your thoughts, and whether I find mushrooms or not,
So you might not find the mushrooms, but clearing the mind.
But I found a fender.
You found a fender.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people have realized that with this virus that peace of mind means a lot.
Oh.
Now, we can kind of get a glimpse. If you look, that whole cornfield down there, basically that was the racetrack.
That was the racetrack, and so on the other side of the clearing, and there's a tree line beyond the clearing. Beyond the tree line would be 56.
That's right. There's a Canton Creek there before the highway, and the bleachers. If you kind of imagine here on this hillside, naturally due to the topography, it was an ideal spot for the bleachers to view the racing events. And if you'll look pretty much west here along this whole hillside is where the bleachers were.
So yeah, you can clearly see we're on a hill.
Yeah.
And if you look at the old pictures, you see the thousands of people assembled on the hill. Yeah. Looking down over into this flat area you see beyond the trees, which would have been the racetrack.
These concrete pedestals, they're made out of concrete, not limestone, but creekstone, and they're about...
It's just, you know, you look at all those old pictures, and there are literally thousands of people up on this hill. Yeah. And I'm thinking, you know, marveling over the new thing of auto racing in America. And I look at it now, and it's just hard to imagine that we're standing right where all that was. I'm fortunate for the tour guide today, because we'd have never found this. I wouldn't even have tried. Oh, here's some concrete. Yep. So that would have been a post would have sat, a support would have sat on that to help hold up the grandstands. Right. You can clearly see we're on the hill where they once sat.
And the only thing he found of value, he did find a $1 coin.
Like an old Morgan?
Yeah, yeah.
Like one of these?
Yeah.
This one is an 1888 version.
Oh, yeah?
My dear sister gave that to me before she passed away. I take it with me wherever I go.
Okay, there's one.
Oh, wow. There was I just ran smack into a...
Spider web.
Yeah, I'm sure I got spiders hanging off me now. Oh,
old,
yeah, look at...
pedestal.
That's an old pedestal to hold up. Gosh. Now, is that clearing out there where the racetrack once was? You can see it in the lighter portion of the camera back in here. That's all corn now, yes?
Yes, it is. But what made that so suitable for a racetrack was it's being a bottom next to a creek. It's very flat, and I understand that was a half-mile track.
Half-mile dirt track, according to Jack Bills. Yeah. And Jeremy has just uncovered.
Yeah, there's an old brick.
That's not from the brickyard, but that's from American Legion Speedway. And
people, you got to have water.
Correct.
So they utilized this spring. There's a nice spring here, and they had actually built a cistern.
Here's another cement.
There you go. There's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
You know that held something up. And there's the one right behind it. Huh. Gosh, we're definitely here. You nailed it. We found it. We found the old American Legion Speedway, 1923 to 1933-ish. The Great Depression got it. You doing all right, Jeremy?
Yes, sir.
You and your walking stick?
I'm getting by.
Okay. We found something here.
This is the old cistern. If you can kind of see all this moss, they built a cistern here.
See the moss?
Out of creek gravel.
Wow.
That was their water source. Of course, it's silted in and mudded in now. The spring is just above here, and it runs in, and that was their source.
Yeah, so I can hear water running.
Yeah,
you hear that?
That's probably
100 years old.
4 or 5 feet deep of silt now, because I'm sure it was 7, 8, 9 feet deep.
Looks like they had some brick steps or something coming up to it. There's a bunch of
Yeah, a bunch of bricks here.
brick here.
Yeah.
And then
What do we got here?
Looks like the right era.
Wow, over you there.
Fall City. Does that ring a bell?
That's a beer.
What is it?
Fall City.
What'd you
beer.
find?
Fall City.
Fall City beer,
Right
right?
here in Louisville, Kentucky, yes.
Does Fall City reach back to 1920 something?
Yes, they do. I believe so.
Yeah.
They
I
must.
actually think they go back to the 1880s.
Because oh yeah, look at the thickness on that glass. Yeah, that's
That's a good sign that it's old.
that's been there since the 1920s.
Fall City Beverage Company.
Good find, Jeremy.
Thank you.
You know, the whole concept of lost speedways is really hot right now. We know that Dale Earnhardt Jr. is doing a big series on it. But what no one's ever done is the American Legion Speedway, just a few miles east of Salem. This is a first. Wow. There I can see I got a better view of you can see the clearing back there that once held the half-mile flat dirt track that was American Legion Speedway. And this is where they sat, up the hill. This was the grandstand area. Gosh. How cool it would have been to attend a race here in 1928 or something. I mean, come on.
Right.
That was...
They're doing what, 55, 65 mile an hour?
Yeah, I see a grate down there.
Yeah.
Some sort of grate. And maybe yeah, I see some,
Yeah,
I don't know, some old plumbing. Is that cast iron or?
That's a clay tile.
Clay tile, okay. And an old grate there. That's got to be a piece of old American Legion Speedway. What used to be American Legion Speedway. That's interesting. Well, right now, we'd be looking up at thousands of fans on this hillside. For now, instead of thousands of fans, you guys are going to have to do. But straight up the hill, quickest way out. All right, lead the way, our faithful leader. I'm glad I didn't wear my Bermuda shorts. What are your thoughts on this, Jeremy?
Well, I'm like you, Don. I would have loved to have seen it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you work for, tell me again.
The Washington County Historical Society.
So, that makes you a bona fide history geek, kind of like me.
I am,
Yes?
sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Coming, Mr. Todd the tour guide. I had no intention of staying, trust me, even though it's been super interesting. Well, this has been a fascinating journey. So long, American Legion Speedway. We enjoyed the show.
You can certainly recognize the slope where the bleachers were, and standing there, you know, Don, as a race fan, it's not too hard to imagine.
No,
Yes, sir.
those old daredevils of the Roaring 20s.
Absolutely.
Death-defying daredevils.
Absolutely. And all of them trying to, you know, break the illustrious speed records.
Sure.
That was the biggest thing back then.
What a beautiful day in southern Indiana. Southern Indiana is like one of America's best kept secrets.
It really is.
The rolling hills, I mean, it's beautiful.
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you, you'd think you were in the Appalachian Hills,
Yes, sir.
or at least the foothills. This reminds me of camping with my dad in the 60s and 70s when he'd pile 8 cousins in the back of his
Yes,
Datsun B210 pickup, and unrestrained, we'd go down the road like it was nothing.
There we are.
Had a ball, too. Inside the Stevens Museum at the John Hay Center, an original box seat from the American Legion Speedway. They would see the straps, they would actually strap it to the bleacher, and that would be your cushion for the big show. Isn't that cool? That's quite an artifact. It's okay, it's from American Legion Speedway.
This was something about the ticket drop.
Okay.
because it had which section you sat in
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see
and
that.
which letter
Oh,
your
yeah,
row
yeah,
was.
yeah. Section A, B, C, D, E, all that, yeah. And your row.
And then your seat numbers are down here at the bottom. And underneath, Don, there are actually tickets still from the Speedway.
Really?
If I lift this up.
Okay. Challenging.
Look.
Oh, pulled out a ticket. What is that?
It's the stub.
Ticket stub from the American Legion Speedway, 1920 something, probably. Oh, Lord. The mother load. Those are original seat tickets. Oh, look at that. That's matches the program, July 4th.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, the program we have here, July 4th. Wow, it's interesting.
I think, Don, that this is how they kept track of the grandstands and which seats they had sold.
Mm-hmm.
And as you see, you can tell where the band sat.
That's cool. Probably plays the national anthem.
I know they did.
And all that stuff.
Absolutely. The Legion Band.